I will be seeking arrest for individuals involved. I will be pressing charges.
A Dolton home that she leased to Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not paid her rent, and now
Tiffany Henyard, the self-proclaimed supermayor of Dolton, is at the center of escalating controversies that have left residents and trustees exasperated. Her leadership has been marked by grandiose self-promotion and erratic behavior, more reminiscent of a reality TV show than effective governance. Allegations of financial mismanagement, misuse of public funds, and disorganized leadership have sparked political clashes, turning township meetings into public spectacles of chaos. Critics argue that Henyard is more focused on preserving her image than addressing the community's pressing issues, including economic deficits and administrative dysfunction. While her support base continues to dwindle, loyal backers portray her as a bold leader standing against entrenched political opposition. However, as the controversies deepen, so did doubts about her capacity to guide Dolton and Thorn Township through mounting challenges. Tiffany Henyard's tenure as Dolton's supermayor continues to be marred by fresh controversies, with reports surfacing that she is facing eviction from her residence while simultaneously battling criticism over taxpayer-funded events that are costly yet poorly attended. One of the most glaring examples is her infamous skating rink project, which cost millions to develop but has been widely dismissed as a vanity endeavor aimed at boosting her personal image rather than meeting community needs. Adding to the scandal are allegations of her misuse of government credit cards, with claims of lavish purchases including luxury furniture and high-end travel. One investigation revealed a staggering $40,000 shopping spree in a single day from an online retailer. Frustrated trustees have grown weary of her unilateral decision-making style, further fueling calls for greater accountability and transparency in her leadership. Tiffany Henyard's disregard for protocol has led to frequent clashes with trustees during public meetings, often described as chaotic spectacles. In one infamous incident, a trustee stormed out in frustration, accusing her of grandstanding and driving Dolton toward financial ruin. The township's general fund, once boasting a surplus of over $1 million, has reportedly plunged into a significant deficit. Further fueling controversy is Henyard's bold proposal to return property taxes to residents, a move widely criticized as a reckless and unfeasible vote-buying tactic, given the township's fragile financial state. The chaos surrounding Tiffany Henyard's leadership has intensified as federal authorities launch an investigation into allegations of embezzlement and corruption. Rumors suggest her mismanagement goes beyond questionable spending, with accusations of misusing public funds for personal security and lavish events. Public outrage reached a boiling point at recent town meetings where frustrated residents visibly turned their backs on her as she spoke, a symbolic gesture of widespread discontent. Despite the backlash, Henyard remains defiant, likening herself to controversial political figures of the past and claiming to be the target of a coordinated effort to remove her from power. Her erratic behavior, vague accusations against unnamed adversaries, and unfulfilled promises, such as launching a podcast to set the record straight, have only deepened public skepticism. As Dolton grapples with what many see as a crisis of competent leadership, one question looms large. How much longer will Henyard's reign of controversy last? And what lasting impact will it have on the town's future?
While suburban politician Tiffany Henyard appears to have lost control of both governments.
Imagine walking into a Thornton Township meeting expecting routine discussions about local issues, updates on community projects, budget talks, and the usual bureaucratic back and forth. But instead, you're met with the scene straight out of a reality TV meltdown. The room buzzes with tension, voices clash, and at the center of the spectacle stands Supervisor Tiffany Henyard. Already embroiled in legal battles over unpaid rent and an avalanche of scandals, Henyard seems unfazed by the criticism swirling around her. Instead of damage control, she appears intent on tightening her grip on the township, sparking a chain reaction of dysfunction. Attendees look on in shock as the meeting devolves into chaos, a far cry from the orderly governance they expected. Accusations fly, voices are raised, and the atmosphere quickly spirals into outright chaos. Trustees, visibly exasperated, call out Tiffany Henyard for disregarding procedures and attempting to push decisions unilaterally, bypassing consensus. The spectacle fuels public outrage, with residents alternating between vocalizing their dissatisfaction and watching the turmoil unfold like a train wreck they can't look away from. And the meeting serves as a microcosm of the broader issues plaguing Henyard's leadership. A tenure mired in controversy, Allegations of misusing taxpayer funds for lavish events and personal expenses, coupled with ongoing clashes with trustees over her authoritarian decision-making style, have left critics accusing her of prioritizing self-interest over community welfare. Critics accuse Tiffany Henyard of prioritizing self-promotion over the township's genuine needs, citing her high profitability but poorly received initiatives as evidence of mismanagement. Despite Dolton Township's growing financial shortfalls, Henyard remains undeterred, dismissing concerns and doubling down on actions her detractors call reckless. Public trust continues to erode with each new controversy, including her widely criticized proposal to return property taxes, a move slammed as both financially unfeasible and a blatant attempt to regain support amid rising discontent. As the township meeting drags on, the mood swings between frustration and disbelief. Residents are left questioning how their local government descended into such disarray and, more importantly, what it will take to restore order and accountability.
We knew it was going to be a little messy, but it's just something we felt important that had to be done, that should be done. So, but like I said, you have to...
The meeting begins with tensions already running high, setting the stage for another heated confrontation under Supervisor Tiffany Henyard's leadership. Accusations of misusing taxpayer funds and leveraging her position for personal gain have put Henyard at odds with her fellow trustees, and the friction in the room is unmistakable. When Trustee Kayana Caro attempts to join the session via phone, a seemingly routine request, Henyard swiftly shuts it down in a show of dominance, refusing to accommodate Caro's attempt to participate remotely. With a dismissive tone, Henyard responds, "If you have not been here, you should have shown up to the board meeting to take care of the business." This sharp rebuke sets the tone for the rest of the meeting. What follows makes it clear that Henyard is not interested in collaboration or compromise. The meeting devolves into a display of her trademark approach, a heavy-handed domineering style that leaves little room for dissent or constructive dialogue. Henyard seems more focused on consolidating her power than addressing the township's pressing issues, using the moment to reassert control over anyone who questions her methods or decisions. This power play effectively sidelines Trustee Caro, signaling to everyone present that cooperation is not on Henyard's agenda. Her behavior exemplifies the broader criticisms of her leadership: accusations of pettiness, an unwillingness to consider alternative perspectives, and a dismissive attitude that has alienated even her former allies. The meeting devolves into a microcosm of the broader issues plaguing Henyard's leadership, marked by tension, disarray, and a relentless focus on dominance rather than governance. Critics view it as another example of Henyard putting her ego above the township's needs, with each action further eroding the already fragile trust in her administration. Both residents and trustees are left frustrated by her refusal or inability to engage in transparent, inclusive decision-making, deepening the sense of division and dysfunction that has characterized her time in office.
Making a late appearance at the Dolton Village Board meeting this evening. That meeting was being held at the Park District building since Village Hall cannot legally accommodate the crowds in a typical...
This meeting wasn't just about Henyard asserting control over the trustees. There were critical matters on the agenda, like approving the minutes from the last meeting and discussing a proposed tax refund for residents. This tax refund, worth over $2 million for Dolton residents, should have been a major focus. You'd think this would be a time for local leaders to put aside their differences and work together for the community's benefit, but not with Henyard in charge. Despite the importance of the tax refund, the meeting quickly spirals into chaos. Trustee Chris Gonzalez, already fed up with Henyard's antics, decides he's had enough and walks out. With his departure, there's no quorum, no vote, and no tax refund. Naturally, Henyard tries to spin the situation, blaming everyone else for the failure. Gonzalez and the other trustees may not be focused on doing the people's work, but let's face it, who can accomplish anything when Henyard is running the show like it's her personal fiefdom? In the middle of the chaos, Henyard's personal issues also come to light. She's facing eviction from her home after allegedly failing to pay rent for months. Her landlord, Janetta Hall, who once considered Henyard a friend, has had enough. Hull claims that Henyard and her boyfriend, Kamal Woods, who makes a substantial income working for the township, haven't paid rent since August. To make matters worse, they allegedly changed the locks without permission, escalating the situation further. Imagine renting your property to the mayor, only to have them stop paying rent and lock you out of your own house. That's exactly what happened to Janetta Hull. She says Henyard and her boyfriend, Kamal Woods, have not paid rent since August, and now she's owed over $5,000 in back rent. To make matters worse, they allegedly changed the locks to evict Henyard and Woods. And who could blame her? Henyard and Woods reportedly earn over $300,000 combined in taxpayer-funded salaries, yet somehow they can't manage to pay their rent. Hull's frustration is clear. As a mayor, you would think they would uphold positive citizen standards. You don't see that with these people. They just feel like they can do whatever they want. And this is just one piece of the puzzle, as investigations into the village's finances and Henyard's spending habits continue to reveal deeper issues of mismanagement and financial instability. While Henyard is busy playing the role of a dictator at township meetings, she's also facing the very real possibility of being evicted from her home. It's not just local trustees and residents who are fed up. Henyard is also under federal investigation for her questionable spending. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot was brought in to investigate Dolton's finances, and the preliminary findings are staggering. In 2022, Dolton's general fund balance was over $5 million, but by May 2024, that number had plummeted to a deficit of $365 million. How does something like that even happen? Lightfoot's investigation uncovered that Henyard had been using the village's credit card for a wide range of personal purchases, from Amazon and Target to Walgreens and Wayfair. One particularly shocking revelation is that in January 2023, Henyard spent $43,000 on Amazon. What exactly was purchased remains unexplained. She's also reportedly used taxpayer money to fund luxury trips, including stays at the Four Seasons in Atlanta and the Marriott Marquis in New York City. Henyard claims these trips are for the benefit of the people, but let's be honest, how many residents of Dolton are actually gaining from their mayor jetting off to first-class accommodations, while the village sinks deeper into debt? But here he appears to be the only way forward. End quote. Who in their right mind makes a one-day purchase of $43,000 on Amazon, and what could possibly justify such spending? What makes this even more outrageous is the context of Dolton's financial turmoil, where before, Dolton's financial situation is dire. The village hasn't just been dipping into its reserves, it's been hemorrhaging money. Local vendors haven't been paid in months, leading to a backlog of over $6 million in unpaid checks. To make matters worse, some employees are reportedly concerned about whether they'll even receive their paychecks in the coming weeks. Given this, Henyard's lavish spending with public funds feels like an insult to the community. And then there's the police overtime scandal. Lightfoot's investigation revealed that 2 police officers earned more in overtime than their actual annual salaries. One officer, with a base salary of $87,311, pocketed an additional $114,800 in overtime pay. Another officer, with a salary of...
Is it a reason why you guys are not paying whatever that vendor is?
What was it for?
It was for shirts. That's what it's...
The second officer, with a salary of $73,515, earned an additional $10,277 in overtime. It's clear that Henyard's use of the police as her personal security detail isn't just draining the village's finances, it's also leaving fewer officers available to protect residents. Critics have pointed out that while Henyard enjoys a substantial security detail, Dolton itself is suffering from a lack of police presence, particularly at a time when crime is on the rise. The township's residents are footing the bill for her personal security, while Henyard continues to defend her actions, claiming these expenditures are essential for building relationships and attracting investment to the village. But how many of these relationships were actually built with taxpayer money? First-class flights and luxury hotel stays, how much investment has actually come from these trips? Residents are skeptical, and rightfully so. Many believe these lavish expenses are more about Henyard's personal comfort than the economic growth of Dolton. Meanwhile, basic services are being cut and infrastructure is deteriorating. Just look at the recent water main breaks that Henyard is now trying to blame on budget cuts. It's no wonder residents are calling for her to step down. And it's not just whispers behind closed doors. People are openly calling her the worst mayor in America. When you look at the facts, it's hard to argue with that. One comment on a recent YouTube video summed it up perfectly. Arrest this clown already. Harsh? Maybe. But when you consider the allegations against her, it's easy to understand why people are angry. Another viewer echoed the same frustration, pointing out how her actions have only deepened the town's problems. She's being called the worst enemy of the residents, the very worst by a mile. It's clear that the people of Dolton are fed up. They're tired of the drama, the mismanagement, and the endless excuses. And with Henyard's re-election bid looming, it seems things are only going to get more chaotic. In a Facebook post announcing her campaign for a second term, Henyard proudly declared, "They know the truth, and I am committed and determined to continue fighting for my village for the next 4 years." She's doubling down on her position as the self-proclaimed super mayor, insisting that all these controversies are nothing more than distractions from the real work she's doing for the people. It's a bold statement, but it remains to be seen whether Dolton residents will buy into her narrative. It's a bold statement, especially given the growing mountain of accusations and investigations piling up against her. Let's not forget the federal scrutiny, as both Dolton and Thorn Township, where Henyard also serves as supervisor, were hit with subpoenas earlier this year. These subpoenas are part of an ongoing investigation into her spending, her political committee, and even her charity organization, all of which are now under scrutiny. While Henyard is busy portraying herself as the victim of a smear campaign, the FBI is actively looking into where all that taxpayer money went. The investigation has even extended to her use of a police security detail, which has taken officers off the street and cost the township thousands of dollars. As if all of this weren't enough, Henyard is also reportedly using her position to silence political opponents. During a recent Facebook Live rant, she suggested that she would be seeking the arrest of those who oppose her. Henyard singled out individuals she accused of being involved in a power and money grab, though she didn't specify who she was referring to or what crimes they supposedly committed. Nonetheless, her message was clear: cross Henyard and you'll face consequences. It's a classic move from someone who sees themselves as untouchable. But how long can she really keep this up? At the end of the day, it's the residents of Dolton who are suffering the most. Henyard singled out predominantly white and colored women and high schools and sent them $30 for their use of it. The village is over $5 million in debt, essential services are being slashed, and there's a real sense that things are spiraling out of control. Henyard's focus seems more on maintaining her grip on power than on addressing the very issues that are leaving the community in disarray. Henyard's focus seems more on maintaining her grip on power than addressing the needs of her constituents. With her re-election campaign officially underway, it's anyone's guess how this will all unfold. For a year, we've been reporting on the questionable spending of South suburban politician Tiffany Henyard, but until now, we only knew half of the story. So, what do you think? Will Henyard manage to hold on to her position despite the growing controversies, or will the people of Dolton finally say enough is enough? And what about the federal investigations? Will they lead to real consequences for Henyard, or will she continue to dodge accountability? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Remember, as much as Henyard paints herself as the super mayor, it's the residents who have the true power when it comes to deciding the future of their village.